The following is a special video presentation from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You are watching RJ Debates 2020. Here is your host, Steve Sebelius.
Welcome to RJ Debates 2020. This debate series talks to candidates up and down the ballot for judicial races. That's family court, district court, Supreme Court, and the Court of Appeals. Tonight, we're going to be hearing for candidates for District Court, Department Number 1. Jacob Villani is a Clark County Chief Deputy District Attorney, and his opponent, Beta Yeager, is a former judge of the Las Vegas Justice Court, and she's now a hearing master in the District Court. We're going to begin with opening statements. We'll go in alphabetical order by last name, and that means, Mr. Villani, it's up to you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm a Chief Deputy District Attorney here at the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. After college, I had my undergraduate degree in psychology. I worked for about 5 years in the construction industry, building custom homes and commercial swimming pools. When the housing crash happened around 2006, I got out of that business and decided to go to law school. I graduated from law school. I worked for about a year for a civil firm while I was in law school. And then I got a job with the DA's office, and I've been here for 11 years. I've been prosecuted every type of case from traffic to death penalty. And I was a member of the Special Victims Unit for a number of years, where I started the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative Unit that is still running today, that prosecutes cases that arise out of untested rape kits that were federally funded to be retested. And I prosecuted nothing but those cases for a number of years.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Ms. Yeager, your opening statement.
Okay, hello. My name is Beta Yeager, and I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 1. I've been an attorney for more than 25 years, and I've learned a lot in that time. What I've learned, that the most important thing is that our justice system is about people. You know, we may use terms like plaintiff or defendant or victim, but really behind those labels is a real person, and I've never lost sight of that. Community-minded, justice-driven is my motto, because I've always worked hard to improve our justice system for the actual people in it. What motivates me to do that? I think of the young addict who's arrested for drugs, but instead of being thrown in jail for 2 to 3 months, he's assessed, held accountable to complete drug treatment and job training so he can live a productive life, crime-free, maybe even reconnect with his family. That's why I founded both of our community courts, to help people overcome what's holding them back from achieving their dreams. My focus has always been about solving problems for real people, and that will continue to be my focus as your next judge in Department 1.
Thank you very much. All right, well, we will get right into questions. The first one will be deceptively easy, and that is this. And Ms. Yeager, this question is to you first. Describe for us your judicial philosophy in plain English.
In plain English. So I believe that really the judicial branch is one part of 3 different branches. So, you know, I'm not someone that would create laws from the bench, or, you know, what people call legislate from the bench. My philosophy is that we need to follow the law, you know, make sure that we're being fair, that we give equal access to justice for people, because I think that is something that's really important, something that I've been very passionate about. Unfortunately, there's not equal access to justice in all forms, and I would be making sure that I do everything that I can to make sure that people feel that they are heard, that they're treated fairly and courteously in my court, because that's what I do every day as a judge now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Villani, your judicial philosophy in plain English.
So in plain English, my judicial philosophy is one of accountability and taking responsibility for one's actions. And that extends to whether it's the attorney who's missing a deadline, or it's the criminal who's out on the street victimizing people. We need to be held accountable for our actions. And I approach this from a slightly different standpoint than Ms. Yeager, and I recognize that. Look, I've been in this office for 11 years. I've seen some horrible things. And the reason I'm running for judge in this department is I don't like the results we're getting on what I deem to be people who are a danger to this community that I love and that I grew up in. I think the pretrial diversion programs are a great idea for some people. I think too many people are being funneled into there. So again, it's about holding people accountable. And to the civil side, it's about holding people accountable to those deadlines, following the law. We all got into this because we love the law, we love to enforce the law, and fairness in enforcing the law makes the playing field level for everybody.
All right, sounds good. Well, that segues very neatly into my next question. The conventional wisdom is that prosecutors, such as Mr. Villani, are going to be tough on crime and tough on accused criminals, whereas public defenders, and Ms. Yeager, I know you spent a number of years as a public defender, are going to be less so. Tell me, and Ms. Yeager, this question is to you first, tell me if that is correct or if that is wrong and why.
Yeah, that is not true. I think what I would be is fair. I will tell you that, as a public defender, I represented over 6,000 people, and I come to realize that there are different reasons why people commit crimes. And so really you need to look at those kinds of things. But when you are looking at punishment and rehabilitation, there are a few things in my mind that I think you need to consider. First, is the person that you're sentencing violent and really incapable of positive behavior change? If that's so, then they need to be segregated from society and they need to be put in prison. But the vast majority of people can successfully reintegrate into the community with additional supports. Another thing that you really need to think about are victims and what kinds of ways that they can be made whole, such as restitution. And so really in looking at the overall scheme of things, I think if we put the supports in place to help those defendants reintegrate, that we can actually have a safer community.
All right, sounds good. Mr. Villani, prosecutors tough on crime become hanging judges or no?
And I thought your question was interesting in that it made a distinction between criminals and accused criminals, right? And I think, look, I think as a judge, I will be tough on crime. I will be tough on criminals. There's a difference between that and being fair to an accused criminal, right? So just accused of crime. I approach this again from a different angle than Ms. Yeager. I am victim focused. So look, I think, yes, there needs to be a distinction made between violent and nonviolent criminals. That's great. But what do you do with the nonviolent thief who steals $100,000, goes and squanders it, and then has no ability to pay it back? Do you put them on probation for 5 years and let them pay back $10 a month in restitution? How is that justice to the victim? So as a prosecutor, we run into these problems all the time. Some people just need to be punished for their crimes, setting aside whether it was violent or nonviolent. So am I going to be a hanging judge? No, I will be an absolutely fair judge. I may be considered one of the tougher judges on the bench, but that has nothing to do with fairness. Look, fairness has to do with once you plead to a crime or are convicted of a crime, that's when my job comes in.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. More questions and answers for candidates for Clark County District Court, Department Number 1. Stay with us.
The Vegas Nation podcast is your source for all your Las Vegas Raiders news. Subscribe and get fast takes and smart coverage. Download the Vegas Nation app, check out vegasnation.com, and stay up to date with your Las Vegas Raiders.
Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's what's new in today's news.
Stay in the loop of the latest information in the Las Vegas Valley with the Las Vegas Review Journal Flash Briefing. Every day, we will provide you with everything you need to know in news, business, weather, entertainment, and sports. Go to the Alexa app and search LVRJ News Briefing. Then say, Alexa, play my flash briefing to hear 3 minutes of the most important information in Las Vegas.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020. We're talking with candidates for Clark County District Court, Department Number 1. Let me ask this question, Mr. Villani, this goes to you first. Do you think you will have any trouble going from an advocate to being an objective judge in the courtroom?
No, I don't think I will. And especially in the job that I'm coming from. Look, our job as prosecutors is not to seek convictions, it's to seek justice. And that's exactly what a judge seeks to do as well. And so I don't see myself as going in there as an advocate for, throwing everybody in prison or as an advocate for releasing everybody. I want the just result, and that's all I seek as a prosecutor. We're given great deference as to what to do with our cases. If we see something that's unfair, we're given the ability to just dismiss it, and that's prosecutorial discretion, and that translates very well into the job of being a judge. I think there are some positions, you might, maybe with a plaintiff's attorney, may have issues with the defense bar doesn't want somebody like that on, or vice versa. But I don't think that issue exists in the position that I am coming from and seeking to be judged.
All right. Ms. Yeager, a slightly different wording for the question for you because you have served on the bench. And did you have any trouble going from an advocate in the public defender's office to being an objective judge? Was that a hard transition?
It wasn't a hard transition, but I will say that it was a transition. When you are advocating one side, you're very zealous and, very persuasive. But as a judge, you're really more the calm factor. You're the umpire, right? You're not the coach on either side. And that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I will tell you that I've gotten actually, I think, even better at really being more calm right now. For my position as a hearing master for the district court, I do the mental health cases. And so as you can imagine, especially in our civil commitment cases, it can get very animated and a little bit, when you have someone that's in active psychosis, you really have to be a calming factor. And one thing that I've really been concentrating on is making sure that everyone feels heard and treated equally.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. Ms. Yeager, this question is first to you. You were appointed to the the Justice Court bench in 2015. You were required, obviously, to run for election in your own right in 2016. You won the primary but lost the general. Do you think the voters have sort of spoken on your candidacy or no?
Not at all. I will tell you that voters should vote for me because I'm the best person for the job. Campaigns are kind of tough. I will tell you that campaigns cost money, and I've been a public servant for over 25 years, so I'm not independently wealthy. So it can be very hard to get your message out to the voters about why they should, choose you as the candidate, which is why I'm very grateful that the RJ is doing this, because this is one way for our voters to get to know me. I'm the only one in the race with judicial experience. I'm the only one that's had judicial experience in both civil and criminal law. And I have 25 years of experience, which is more than double my opponents. And so I think that when you're looking for someone that is the best person for the job, you're looking at experience, you're looking at ability to handle high volume, which I have been doing. And you're also looking at someone who has the right temperament, which I believe I have.
Mr. Villani, is a slightly different version of that question for you. Your opponent has actually been a judge, served on the bench. Doesn't that give her the advantage in this race?
Well, my opponent was a justice of the peace for some time. And look, I'm not speaking ill of Beta. I think she's eminently qualified for this position. I think she's suited for this position. We are different people. We will be different judges. Now, I think the voters have spoken when she was voted out of the Justice Court bench. And to say that she's had judicial experience for the past 5 years, I mean, I've been doing jury trials for the past 5 years. I've actually been doing the things, preparing calendars that judges actually do. She's been presiding over a mental health court. I think there needs to be a distinction there. She hasn't been really making any decisions of note. And wearing a robe does not give you judicial experience. And again, I'm not speaking ill about her. She is qualified for this position. It's just to say that she's more experienced because she's got the 25 years. Again, most of her career was spent in the public defender's office. And you want to talk about caseload, our office has the highest caseload in the nation as far as per deputy cases. We are a triage office and we deal with a lot of volume every day, and that will translate well into being a judge.
All right. Mr. Villani, your opponent actually said something earlier that caught my attention. The question is this: do you believe that all citizens currently have adequate access to justice in the legal system? And what can you as a judge do to help people who may not have that access?
So I think it's important to distinguish between access and resources. Access sounds to me like we're kind of stopping them at the front door. There are a variety of resources available for those who do not have the funds to hire attorneys. As a matter of fact, the county spends tens of millions of dollars on indigent defense between funding the public defender's office, the special public defender's office, the office of appointed counsel to provide attorneys for those who can't afford it. In addition to that, there's Nevada Legal Services. There's the Self-Help Center down here. UNLV gives free classes on family law, on civil law. So I think the access is there. The problem is the resources, right? There's an imbalance in resources, and that will always exist. What can be done as a judge to solve that? You be fair, no matter what the party, no matter what the attorney, no matter how much money the person has, you treat them fairly, you follow the law, and you don't not follow the law because you're not afraid of getting a campaign donation or something along those lines.
Well, thank you very much. Ms. Yeager, you brought this up. You said you didn't think people have access to justice. What can you as a judge do about that?
So before I do that, can I briefly respond to Mr. Bolani's criticisms of me?
Your time, you can use it however you want.
So, his criticism of me was that I haven't been sitting as a judge. Actually, I have. So before that, I was a trial attorney for 20 years, and I did over 50 jury trials. And as a justice court judge, I did jury trials and I did bench trials. So, and now I actually do civil, and I make those kinds of decisions, and I sit for discovery and I make those kinds of decisions. So I do take, I do have a different opinion of what he says about me. As for access to justice, Mr. Bolani is right. There are different resources that we can direct people to, but I think one of the most important things about access to justice is making sure that when people who are unrepresented come to your court, that they understand the process, they understand the decision that you have to make, the law that you are relying on, and that you let them tell their side. I do this all the time as a judge. I make sure that I explain to them in easy to understand terms so that once I make their decision and explain it to them, they understand why I've made that decision. And I always ask them at the end if they have any questions.
All right, thank you very much for that answer. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back right after this as RJ Debates 2020 continues.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we
their
know
death.
of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Tom Brady.
Who?
And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Get ready for every Raiders game with us. Vegas Nation Game Day will give you everything you need to know about each week's matchup.
I'm excited.
Sundays at 9 a.m. starting in September on Your View. Vegas Nation Game Day coming this September.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020. We're talking with candidates for District Court Department 1. So my next question goes to Ms. Yeager first. You both have worked in the system for a long time. You as a public defender, your opponent as a prosecutor, and you have worked as a hearing master and as a judge yourself. Do you believe that there is institutional systemic bias against people of color in our judicial system?
I do. And truthfully, I'm not the only one that thinks that. So the National Judicial College just did a survey of judges a couple of weeks ago, and the majority of judges find that there is systemic bias in the system. And I'd like to extend that a little bit because it's not just about, I should say the bias goes to so many different types of people. So, I know that there's a lot of energy around the movements that are going on as far as systemic racism, but there's also bias about people who are poor, people who have disabilities. So it's inherent on us to make sure that we are checking our inherent bias. And I think that through education and really acknowledging and understanding that all of us have inherent biases. It's not necessarily something that we know or recognize in ourselves, it's hidden. So we need to make sure that we are working to rid ourselves of that bias, and that way people can have equal justice in our system.
All right, Mr. Villani, what about you? Do you think there's inherent bias in the judicial system?
I can't speak to the judicial system as a whole. What I can speak to is my experience in this office, and I've never seen anybody treated differently by this office as a result of their race. I've never seen anybody treated differently as a result of their, whether or not they have income. I've been in court. I've appeared in almost every criminal court there is in this county. And I've never seen a judge come down on somebody because of their color. And I realize there's this whole psychological push towards, well, you have inherent biases, you're racist, you don't know it. That has not been my experience with the system, and I realize it's a hot button issue right now, and I work hard. I don't even work hard to make sure I don't. I'm just not. I don't look at the color. I don't look at the poorness or not. What I look at is the facts. I look at whether or not the person is eligible for probation, whether or not they should go to prison. That's the sort of things that I consider as a prosecutor. So skin color, income never comes into play.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to take our last break, and we'll be back with more questions and answers for candidates for District Court, Department Number 1. Stay with us.
With so much excitement building around the Raiders and their inaugural season in Las Vegas, the fans want to be heard. The launch of Vegas Nation Fan Zone is their answer. That's right, Raiders fans can sound off on all things Raiders, from players to coaches to even the new Allegiant Stadium. Vegas Nation Fan Zone is accessible 24/7 and allows fans to generate and upload their own posts for lively interaction. Simply go to fanzone.vegasnation.com to sign up today.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020. We're talking with candidates for District Court Department 1. We've come to the time of our debate where we have the candidates give their closing statements. We'll go in reverse order than we did at the beginning. And so, Ms. Yeager, your closing statement goes first.
Thank you, Mr. Sebelius. So what makes me the best candidate for this job? My experience, my work ethic, my integrity, my passion for justice, and my career-long commitment to make our community the best one possible. I'm the only candidate in this race with judicial experience in both criminal and civil law. And this kind of real-world experience matters because I'm ready to hit the ground running on day one to work hard for you, the citizens of Clark County. But what really sets me apart, I always go the extra mile outside of work to make a difference, to make our justice system more fair and just, to make our community safer by actually solving problems. I'm community-minded, justice-driven. That's who I am, that's who I've always been, and that's who I'll continue to be. But you don't have to take my word for it. Do your research. Go on my website, find out about me, ask your friends in the legal community. I appreciate that you've taken the time to get to know me, and I ask that in November that you vote for me, Vita Yeager, for Judge in Department 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Villani, your closing statement.
Thank you. I'm in a courtroom every day doing precisely what I will be doing as a judge, preparing calendars, thinking on my feet, arguing sentencing, and taking accountability for those people, those victims that I represent in court. I'm very familiar and up to date with the law as it's ongoing with regard to jury trials. My latest jury trial was done just this year. This is why I'm endorsed by prosecutors, the marshals, law enforcement, people who appear in court every single day. These people know what makes a good judge and what makes a bad judge because, quite frankly, they appear in front of judges. Every major law enforcement organization in Clark County has endorsed me. And the reason is they're sick of judges not following the law. They're sick of judges being easy on violent criminals. And I will put a stop to that. Victims matter. So once again, I'm the best candidate for Department 1. I haven't been practicing as long as Ms. Yeager, but I've certainly been in the trenches doing the work longer than she has.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all the time we have for our debate. My thanks to both our candidates for participating tonight. You can stay up to date with all the 2020 political news on our website. That's www.reviewjournal.com. Join us next time as our debate series continues. Until then, for the Las Vegas Review Journal, I'm Steve Sebelius.